been doing opposites this week, and today we're looking at inside out or outside in. That might be a Scottish phrase that we use a lot, that sort of thing, but we're starting with an unusual breath practice. I don't know if any of you have been watching Wim Hof, and I think this is possibly the practice that he's been using on the people when he does all that emotional trauma drawing out in his breath practices. He obviously does it for a long time. I did hear him say 75 minutes at one point. That's a long time to do a pranayama for. We're only doing it for 5 or 10 breaths. But this one's supposed to flow like a wave. It feels odd. It's the opposite of what we normally do, because the idea is it's a 3-part breath that we do with our arms. So it's 1, 2, 3 in the inhale, 1, 2, 3 in the exhale. So that's the arm movement. The breath part is the opposite of what we normally do. So instead of inhaling from the top down, you inhale from the belly upwards. And then instead of exhaling the other way from the belly upwards, you exhale from the throat downwards. So maybe before we start the arms into it and the 3-part of it, just have a couple of goes at that. If it really isn't for you, just do the normal breathing in and out as we normally do. So otherwise, as you start to control your breath, make sure you've got a nice long body, the posture's there so that you've got the space for this. Just start to control the breath first of all, relax into it so that you don't start to feel tense because you're doing something odd. And then when you're ready on one of the inhales that you come to, try to inhale from the belly upwards, which will make you lift up. So it's a little bit of a rebound feeling. And then as you exhale from the throat downwards. So inhale from the belly upwards, trying to slow it down, take it slowly. Your count of 4 is the example normally. And exhale from the throat downwards. So just practice that for a couple of more breaths. The idea there is it makes a sort of flow, a wave effect. And actually what you're getting is that lift and let go feeling that we often use with the breath. So it's inhale upwards, exhale downwards. So this is called Durga Pranayama, which means full and complete. And as I say, I suspect that's the one that Wim Hof is using. I don't think I've heard which direction he said to breathe in. But now that you've kind of got used to it, decide whether it's for you or not before we take the arm movement and the 3-part movement into it. If it's too much and you don't like it, then change and do your normal breath practice with the arms. So on your next inhale, we'll let go of the breath. Let's all move together. So let go of the breath just for a second. So we're going to move that way again, breathing from the belly up on the inhale if you're comfortable, and from the throat down on the exhale. So we're going to begin when you're ready with an inhale. So we'll inhale 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts up to full. Turn the palms, exhale, 1, 2, 3. So forget the count of 4, we'll do it in the count of 3 this time. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Don't stop if you can, just continue with the breath. Exhale, exhale, exhale. So inhale, continuous breath from the belly up. Turn the palms, exhale, continuous breath from the throat down. So feel that lift now on the inhale as you take your 3-part breath, raising up through to your throat in effect as it's full. And then exhale, you're going throat, kind of chest area, then belly. Inhale, we're going from the belly to the chest to the throat. Exhale, throat, belly, chest, belly. So take a couple of those, 2 or 3 more of those on your own, just focusing on the movement of the breath, which is the opposite from what you would normally feel. Continue with the arm movements as well at the same time. If you've stopped, just restart. Just really focus on whether it's resonating with you, whether you're feeling it's working energy-wise, or whether it feels a little bit upside down rather than inside out. So it could be stimulating your brain by making you really work with the breath here. Sometimes we get a little bit stale in our habits, so it's quite good to change things up. I'm not breathing with you because I can't talk and breathe at the same time. Just let it flow in and out, taking the energy in the opposite direction from what we're normally used to. And then after your next exhale, let the arms come down and settle your hands onto your knees. Close your eyes if they're not already closed. Just see what you've been left with. How does that feel? Are you feeling that breath practice on the inside of you or the outside of you? Is it working with your mind? Is it a physical thing that you can feel from it? Is it disturbing? Possibly because you've done something that you're not used to. So changing things up is quite good sometimes, but sometimes it can, rather than settle us, make us a little bit disturbed. Okay, so open your eyes now. We're going to rub our hands together, the palms of our hands together, until you feel it really building up, a bit of friction and heat there. And once you feel that heat, shut your eyes, cup the hands, and put the palms over your eyes, just gently, and feel that warmth through your eyelids going in towards that area inside of you. Just warming up all the little muscles around that area with the heat from your hands. And then gently open your eyes as you slide your fingers down your face, open the fingers, let the light draw back in. Slowly put the hands to the knees. I'm going to take some eye circles or eye rolls here. So sitting still, only your eyes moving. Check your posture before we move. Just make sure you're all in alignment from your sit bones up through. Draw your belly in, draw your heart forward, shoulders back, chin in, lift up from the sit bones. And then eyes open, we're going to look up towards 12 o'clock. We're going to look over towards 3 o'clock, down towards 6 o'clock, and over towards 9 o'clock. Take that circle 2 more times. Anybody that's got any eye issues, just please be aware of that and take it very gently. But it's not a bad thing to make your muscles work in your eyes anyway, unless you've been told otherwise. And then go in the other direction, so anti-clockwise. Just the eyes rolling and moving here. Take a couple of those in the anti-clockwise direction. And then once you finish the second one, I'm going to take my brick away because we're going to stretch our feet out now in front of us. So come off anything if you want. If it's a cushion, you can still sit in it. So stretch your legs away from you now. Oh, dirty feet time here. So flex your feet towards you so that your toes come back towards your body, and then draw your body up and out of your pelvis. Lift up so that you find that space between your waist and rather around your waist, between your ribs and your pelvis. Find the sit bones, lift it up. So now that we've got that nice staff pose position, we're going to take our hands out in front of us at shoulder height, flex the wrists, just like you've done your feet. And then we're going to do some ankle and wrist rolls at the same time. So really look at your feet and your hands as you do this. Then go in the other direction. And then stop. Take that again, eyes open, and see how you're dealing with this. Is it internally that you're feeling this? Is it your muscles and your bones moving that you're connecting with? Or is it external? Are you feeling it from the outside, in other words? Because you're visually attached, it's probably the latter. Now stop, close your eyes, and do the same thing with your eyes closed. So now what are you more aware of, the inside of you or the outside of you moving? Possibly still the outside because you'll have visual memory. Your eyes will still be telling you what's happening. Maybe you can connect more towards what's happening inside your wrist joints moving, inside your ankles. Maybe your legs switched on is what you're feeling, your muscles are telling you something. And then stop, bring the hands to the knees. Close your eyes still and notice if you're still feeling what you've just been doing. So that's the internal feeling inside. Okay, so hands behind us now just as support. I'm turning my fingers backwards and rolling my shoulders out one at a time so that I've got a nice open chest. If that isn't for your wrists, then turn them slightly out to the side. So you don't need to point backwards if it's too uncomfortable. So they're just there to give you a little bit of lift up. And then we're going to take windscreen wipers. So pop your feet to the floor, a little bit wider maybe than hip distance, wherever they feel comfortable, and start your windscreen wipers. Eyes open for this section, just watching the rolling through your feet. So while you're watching your feet rolling through, in my case, I can feel the inside of me telling me messages as well. So one of my knees is telling me a message, don't go so far. My hips are starting to feel, oh, this is a bit tight, so I'm getting messages from them. My tummy's telling me, oh, you've let go of that, you're not pulling it in enough. And my chest feels like it's sunk. So I'm very aware, even with my eyes open and watching what I'm doing. I am self-aware at the same time. So notice whether you are. This is just experiential today, really, just to notice what's happening. So then feet come together. We're going to take frog's legs now. Same thing, eyes open. So draw the feet back in towards you and then sweep them round in a big circle, open them up, take them back to the front again. Take a couple of frog's legs, really watching, rather than looking ahead, look downwards at what your feet are doing. At the same time, there might be some messages coming through to you internally. Your hips might be telling you something, the shoulders maybe, your hands, go in the other direction. But it might be that because there's more movement involved that you're watching here, that you're visually attached to the outside of you much more now, and you're not getting the same amount of messages, or you're not being able to hear them. So that's just something to be aware of. So when you're driving a tractor, beware of trees in front of you. Okay, it's the right message for me this morning. Then bring your feet in again, feet flat to the floor, and watch again with your eyes open as you do some toe taps. So just lifting one leg, tapping it back down, lifting, tapping. Now, as a yogi or anybody that's doing some exercise, what should you also be aware of here? Apart from just looking at your toes, we need to think, switch that tummy on, zip up the front body, get the core involved with this movement, not just the hip hinges. So switch on your alignments, draw up. Notice then that it takes the weight out of your legs a little bit as you lift them, but it also means that you're activating other muscles. So to help our outside feeling, it's good to know what's happening on the inside. Being yogis, you're much more aware of this than people just wandering down the street. Okay, then take the legs away from us. Have a little roll through. Close your eyes and just see if there's any messages internally coming to you now. Draw down and feel the heat in your thighs, maybe. Maybe you can feel an energy where some of the muscles have switched on. Maybe you can feel the pressure internally in your hands. Maybe you can feel a bit of sluggishness in my case across my shoulders. I feel that I'm rolling forward when I should be open. So my body's then saying, wait a minute, you're supposed to open up the collarbones and roll the shoulders back. Draw those muscles internally. Be aware of what's happening inside. And then walk up, have a little shake out your fingers. Get that energy flowing back into them. Ooh, that was strong. And then roll over and come into tabletop. So we're going to take a couple of cat-cows here. You can take them either just normal or dynamically. Take 2 with your eyes open, and then take 2 with your eyes closed. So in your own time, make sure first of all you've got the tabletop alignment. It's not all just about how we're feeling, it's about how we should be feeling. And then begin with your in-breath in neutral and exhale into cat. So eyes open for the first couple. Dynamically or not, whichever you'd rather, into cow on your inhale. Exhale back into cat. See how it feels. Take one more with your eyes open and really notice what's happening, where you're feeling, what you're watching, what you're aware of. And then close your eyes on the next 2 or 3. If you feel a little bit unbalanced, keep your eyes half closed. If it's not for you to close your eyes, then please don't. But otherwise, notice what's happening here with the experience. Much more aware of self. However, we are quite static here, but we're not quite as aware of what's happening round about us. So with our eyes closed, you're much more liable to be aware of yourself, but not of something that you're liable to bang into. That's pretty obvious to everybody. Come to a standstill. And then we're going to take 3 or 4 dog lifts on either side. So lifting just up at the hips. Same thing, eyes open the first 2 and then close your eyes for the second 2 sets. So find that alignment first of all. Draw the tummy in to support the lower back. Press gently into the knuckles of the fingers and the heel of the hand and lift up through the palm. Have that little arch support there. Make sure you've rotated your elbows slightly as long as you're not hypermobile. And you feel that nice strength in the arms. And then lift up through your knees and the front of the back of the front of your feet rather. Press gently down in them and feel that rebound. Okay, so in that position, eyes open, tuck the chin, have a long back and neck, look down at the floor. Make sure your knees feel stable before you start this one. And then lifting up the right leg, first of all, at the hip. So the leg stays exactly as it is. It's just moving at the hip by contracting the outside of that right hip. Take 2 or 3 of those and then move over onto the other side. We would be inhaling as we lift and exhaling as we lower. Use the breath to slow you down, to make the movement happen at the right speed. Again, speed is something we should be aware of when we've got a tree in front of us, obviously. Right, close your eyes and try it the other way now. So with eyes closed, really focusing on what's happening on the outside of that hip to lift the leg. Noticing where anything else might have given that shouldn't do, like your tummy, maybe your shoulders should be further down your back, your chin should still be tucked. Moving on to the left side. An awareness of what we're doing here. We know there's space to move that knee, but actually, can you actually feel if there's something there or not with your eyes closed? Knee comes down, pop the toes together, sit back into wide leg, child's pose, Bitalasana, and have a rest. If you can't quite pop your head to the floor, bring your forearms under your forehead and just feel that nice space. So this is one where we do close our eyes. This is one where we do draw back into ourselves, where we become very aware of us, and where we also have the chance to shut out anything else round about us. So sometimes that's what we need, is to draw our awareness inside, away from the outside. not just physically this whole class is talking about, it's also emotionally and life lessons in effect. Okay, so then come back up to tabletop, eyes open. And then we're just going to stay in tabletop at first, but we're going to take the right leg and we're going to take the big toe along the floor backwards and stretch that leg out. As you do, sit back onto your left hip. So you've come down into a sort of, well, it's just preparing us really, this for pigeon, it's that feeling. So stretching out that leg behind us. So feel what's happening here. So look forward now. So raise your head, chin up and look forward. Press gently into your hands to lift yourself up a little bit. So you're putting in a little bit of a mini back bend. And then take your awareness down to the front of your stretched out leg. So take your awareness to the foot and press gently into the foot. And you feel maybe even your knee lifts off the floor then. It depends on the power that you put through your foot. But if you press gently into your foot, you'll feel that switches on that leg. Tuck your tummy, lift it up, draw up through the crown. Feel from your big toe, close your eyes now, feel from your, your big toe right up through to your crown. Feel that strength up the right side of your body. And then lower and release. Draw that knee in, take the other leg back. So this time, rather than looking forward, tuck your chin, roll your head down and look behind you. Keep your eyes open, but do the same thing with the back foot. Really press into the foot and lift. So there's not the same connection with the crown, it's more the leg that we're feeling here. Notice what you can feel and what you're noticing with your eyes open. Are you as aware? Where's the feeling stopping? Is there something visually, like a mat, for instance, in my case, the pattern on my mat that's drawing my attention rather than me? And then release, bring that leg back in. You don't need a bricks yet, okay, so in tabletop again, we're going to move into our left leg and lift our right knee about an inch off the floor, half an inch to an inch. So just lifting it gently in the same position and take some knee circles. So eyes open, looking down at the mat, just ahead of your hands. And then if you're comfortable, close your eyes and just feel that circle. Now, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? In my case, I'm seeing the circle that I'm drawing. It might be that you are feeling it through your hip. Might be some other part of your body apart from your knee that's making you aware. And then go the other direction, of course. So go in the other direction, the one that didn't feel natural. What happens then? I become much more aware of the physical thing that's happening there. My attention's drawn straight down to my hip because I've really got to concentrate to make it go into a circle in that direction. And then let the knee come down. If you need to rest your wrists at any point, sit back and give them a bit of a shake. We're going to move now into your right leg when you're ready. You don't need to do it straight away if you want to have a rest. And then same thing. So now open your eyes and look back at what you're doing. And just see, is it outside, inside? Is it a different experience with your eyes open? And then go the other way. Can you concentrate so much on you with your eyes open, even though you're looking at yourself? Can you really know what you're feeling with your eyes open? And then put the knee back to the floor. Sit back into child's pose, either extended or elbows on the floor or hands under head. Just take a breath here. Have a nice stretch out if you feel like it. Even roll up onto the heels of your hands and let your fingers have a wiggle out there. And then we're going to come back up again into tabletop, but we're going to rock back this time. We're going to come into low lunge. So rock back and bring your right foot forward between the two hands and come into low lunge. Your version doesn't need to be full and extended if you don't want it to be this morning. You can have your knee under your hip. So in this position, with your right foot forward and looking down at your right foot, press gently into your foot as you watch it, watch all the little muscles inside move. Have a little wiggle at your toes. Press gently into the heel and the other 2 points of your tripod, your big toe muscle and your little toe muscle. And notice the lift happening in your instep there. And then look up from your ankle and watch where your knee is. Is it in line? Do you need to draw it anywhere to make it directly in line over your ankle? And then look towards your hands and watch what's happening. So maybe there's a lot of pressure going into your fingers here. If there is, lift up a little bit and make a little dome like we have an orange under our palms, and lift up a little bit through and use the palm of the hand to support as well. And then rock, take that right foot back, rock back, bring your left foot forward. So now close your eyes, but do the same thing as we've just done. So with eyes closed and the left foot forward, think about moving through the foot, lifting the toes, finding those points in the tripod, pressing gently into it, feel the lift through your instep, and then think about where your knee is over the ankle. Does it need to move slightly? Are there any other points of your body that you want to attach yourself to? Perhaps the front of your back foot, perhaps to lift your tummy off your thigh. What's happening in your hands again? Can you adjust to help them a little bit? Maybe you need to rotate your elbows forwards. Draw your shoulders down the back of your body. Tuck your chin. Here with your eyes closed now, in the position that we've found ourselves, much more aware of ourselves, visualize what's around you in the room. So find the muscle memory in your brain to think, what is around me? I know the space on my mat. How close am I to the walls? What's in front of me? What's behind me? What's above me? Where's the space? And then release, take the foot back. So option here, take a rest if you want in child's pose. Option here is to bring your brick in. We're going to go into pigeon for a couple of breaths here. So the options in pigeon is to do the normal pigeon and maybe use a brick under your hip just to rest on. Or you can take pigeon. You can remember, I'm going to just show you the other option here. So hands are in front of us and we're going to take the knee outside. Everybody will do that outside of the right hand, the right knee. So in pigeon, the option therefore, if it's not for you this morning, is in that position, just roll gently, careful of the front knee, onto the hip. Or stick the brick under you and roll onto it. So you've got a version of pigeon happening here, but it's not quite as pressurized as the full pigeon. So that's an option. If it's not for you or your knee particularly, then that's an option, is to go onto the side. And you'll still get that movement through your hip joint. Just slightly different. Okay, so otherwise, rock back, take your right knee outside of your front hand, of your right hand to the width of the mat. You can adjust the foot slightly here if it's comfortable, but it doesn't need to be that the shin's in line with the front of the mat. We have realized that's not good for knees, yogis. So the front foot should be quite flexed feeling, so it stops your knee torquing. Then you need to look down behind you and walk the back leg over so that the hip and knee and foot are all in line again. It might have wandered out to the side. So then take your brick and pop it under the front hip. And walk your back foot back until you sit onto that brick. You might have to change height of it. It's not, we haven't done a lot to go into this. It's a bit yin-like. No, that's not right. So press it in until you get some support from the back brick. And then you can just rest here for a couple of breaths. If you want to go full on, you can take your elbows down to the floor, but do have that sensation of moving backwards always in pigeon. So you're rolling off your front knee and walking your back foot backwards. So you're rolling onto this hip. So here we're working from the outside in, because in yin and in pigeon particularly, you always feel that sensation growing, getting deeper. It's one of the ones that we can really connect the whole premise of yin to. So it's one of the ones that you think, oh, it's getting worse, I can't stay here any longer. Please come out if it does feel. But you're getting towards your edge, and this is the internal feeling building. It's the muscles, and the deep tissue starts to open. Not so much the muscles actually, more the deep tissue, the ligaments, the tight tissue, the joints start to open a little bit more because of that. So the muscles hold your joints in place. Although they allow your bones to move, they keep everything stable. When they're not really switched on, the deeper tissues have to adjust and move and do their thing. So this is the point of yin. So you're getting a deeper stretch inside of you, and you'll start to feel now that it's probably built up to that. If you're not feeling anything, you just need to adjust your position so that you're actually sitting onto that hip. So I don't know if you've had eyes closed or open, probably teeth clenched, certainly, often in pigeon. Maybe you love it. I know some people do. Okay, so carefully come out. Let's move the brick first of all. Press into the hands, press into the back foot, maybe tuck the toes and lift up if you're in full pigeon and take that pressure off the front knee, move it backwards. Sit back, have a roll through. If you're on your side, then you want to roll onto neutral and go to the other side now. So move your brick over, take it on the other side, rock back, move the left knee, in my case, outside the left hand. Remember, it's not all about yanking that front foot forward to be in line. It's to what your hip wants to do. And then look down. Oh no, let's put the brick in place first of all. Then without looking down with your eyes, close your eyes this time and walk that back leg back in towards the center line. So feel that your hip, knee and foot are going straight backwards then. And then see if you can just walk along a little bit backwards in a straight line, so that you roll more onto that front hip and the pressure comes off your knee then. As I say, you can take that side sitting position or the side saddle if you want to. You can stay up or you can come down. Eyes closed this time. And just notice the build up as everything moves more and more internally, deeper and deeper inside you in that left hip. Only focus on the left hip. Let every other part of you be. And then only focus on the breath. Ignore that left hip. Come back to the breath. Take control of it. Use your inhale and your exhale particularly to soften, but try not to be aware of what's happening in the hip. Really focus on your breath. Drawing in through both nostrils. Exhaling through both nostrils. Try that tummy throat thing. So inhale through from the tummy upwards. Exhale down from the throat. Inhale from the tummy upwards. Exhale down from the throat. Take 2 more breaths in your own time. Really focusing on the breath. Then let go of the breath when you're ready. And notice your hip again. So coming out of this, we're going to press gently into our hands, lift up with the back foot on our ball of our foot, lift up, bring the legs back. And then all we're going to do is roll forward and down gently onto our tummies and come into prone shavasana to finish, the opposite of what we would normally do. So stretching out here, you might want to have a full body stretch first by taking your hands out above your head. And then draw back, hands under the head if you're comfortable with that, forehead on the hands. Or if you want to go side of the head, that might be more comfortable for you, not with a whiplash neck, it's not. So wherever you want to take your arms to that feels really relaxed, allow them to rest. So different shavasana even this morning. An upside down shavasana, how does that feel? Sometimes it can feel quite nice not to be quite so open as a normal shavasana pose would be. Openness of the front body, if we haven't got a blanket or something to cover us, can feel a little bit insecure or self-conscious. Many other feelings can be attached to that. So sometimes this lying facing the floor, not being able to see anybody or anything around you, and not having the feeling of other things around you looking at you or being a part of your world, gives you the chance to draw inside. Sometimes we draw inside just to look at ourselves and see what's going on, and that's a really good thing. Sometimes we draw inside just to give ourselves a little bit of space from everything else around us. So find your breath again. This time, a normal breath in the way that you want to breathe. It might be that you enjoyed the belly upwards one, but try not to think too much about where you're breathing to and from. Just gently breathe in through your nose and exhale through your nose. Slow the breath down, find the ease in it. Enjoy that time with you. Who you are outside is a reflection of who you are inside, as far as your body goes. So what we feel inside is a reflection of how you feel about the outside world often. So being able to look inside and outside and judge and evaluate means you can balance. Balance whether you work from the inside out or the outside in. They're not opposites, they're just the other side of the same thing. So if anybody wants to stay and enjoy this luxury here at the end of the class, then please do. Otherwise, if you have to move on with your day or your evening even, then gently open your eyes, make sure you have a bit of a stretch out or a rock through before you take your time rolling onto your side and coming up to sitting to finish. To finish our third week of pop-up already, I can't believe it. So as I say, next week I'll be over in France. Hopefully my Wi-Fi actually is better over there. So hopefully everything will go to plan and the classes will be as normal. So I'll see you Monday morning, your time, 7:30 as usual, or 8:30 if you were in France. So thank you everybody. Opposite side of the sea I'm going to be on, but it'll still be the same thing. Thank you for your practice and namaste.